Hi everyone, this is Miles. Today I thought I'd do a little informational video on how to harvest onions and garlic. Probably one of the most common questions I get is how do I know when something is ready for harvest? So I will try to give you some information about that and a bonus lesson on plant reproduction. So right here we have our garlic. So garlic and onions are actually in the same family, and you can see that pretty much all of that foliage, this foliage right here, okay, this kind of long stringy stuff, smells like garlic as soon as you touch it. This is pretty much ready for harvest. So the bulb is underground. So right here, I just kind of dug this up so you can see what the garlic looks like. You can see it's pretty wet, so I'm looking to get this out of the ground and start to dry it. Once I dry it, then it could store much longer than if it's wet, so the reason I'm doing this on kind of a wetter day is I don't want any of this to rot and go bad. So this is something I harvested a little bit sooner, so you can see it's a little bit drier, okay, but I'm still going to put that in kind of an airy spot away from direct sun for a couple days to really dry it out, let the skin start to become kind of papery, and once that's done, then it's pretty much ready to eat. I certainly can eat it now, and in fact I might, but if you're looking to store it for any length of time, you do need to dry it out first. So I kind of pre-dug these. Sometimes they come up with just one hand, but because I'm making this video myself, I thought I'd kind of pre-dig this, so we'll see. Just kind of give it a little tug, and there you go. You see obviously a bunch of cloves, okay, in there. See some dirt hanging on, so kind of just shake that out. Okay, and I will just put that on a wire rack or something. I got a little bit something on my porch started. Basement's a great place to do that because it tends to be pretty dry and away from direct sunlight. So as you can see, there's still some more garlic for me to harvest. And the one question I get is how do I know when something's ready for harvest? So you can see, this foliage is still a little bit green, but as you can see on the whole, this one, for example, is a really good example. It's almost completely brown. So that means that all that energy that was in the foliage is now in that bulb, and that's exactly what I want. Okay, so basically these are all ready. I'm worried it might rain again later, so I'm just gonna go ahead and pull all of this garlic. And over here, I have my onions. So you can kind of see a very similar thing, especially with these. These tops are all falling over. They're not quite as brown, maybe as would be ideal, but as far as it goes with onions, I understand it to be, as long as about half of the tops have fallen over, they are pretty much ready to go. So as you can see, kind of a little zoom in here, I got some really nice sized onions, kind of tucked in there. So I've had really good success growing onions from plants, and normally you buy them from sets at like a hardware store or something, but I buy plants that I order online, and I'm really happy with the way they've turned out. As you can see, I got really good sized onions in there. And I've never really had that kind of luck. So another interesting thing, quick view of the garden. Got some watermelon, got some, well, pretty much watermelon's the star of the show there. It's a vining type, so it's pretty much taken over. Got some lettuce that is seeding right now, and I will discuss that once more in just a second. So right here, let's see if I can zoom in. This is a garlic scape. So onions and garlic, again, same family. They're actually biennials, which means that they reproduce the second year. So what this plant is doing is actually reproducing. So this is an immature seed pod. So this is making more garlic seed. So if I was on top of it, I would have found this earlier, and I would actually cut this off to encourage more bulb growth. I don't want this plant reproducing. I want it putting all the energy into making a big, delicious garlic bulb for me. So if I had to guess, I'm not going to harvest it, I'm not going to be able to with just one hand, but I would have to guess this garlic plant is going to be a lot smaller. That bulb is going to be a little bit smaller, because that means, this plant gave a lot of energy towards reproducing, whereas most of these gave all their energy to creating a bulb for next year. So right here, actually, we have lettuce. So this is the same kind of thing. So as you can see right there on top, this is an immature flower. Okay, so this lettuce is no longer edible. I found that if you kind of catch it at the beginning, some of these lower leaves can be okay, but up here, if you're looking closely, you can kind of see a difference in color and texture. And if you were to eat that right now, it would be extremely, extremely bitter. So, as far as when to harvest something, this lettuce should have been harvested weeks and weeks ago. But, sometimes it gets really hot, and this process called bolting can occur. So, so you want to try to cut it when you can so that it doesn't do this. But you know, eventually it's going to happen, you know. So these are kind of immature, and kind of going back to that lettuce I showed you a second ago, you can see when it's fully flowering. So this is, you know, this is the same type of lettuce plant actually. You can see how tall it gets, right? And you can kind of still see some yellow flowers up here, and then you can see those seed pods. So the reason I let this happen is because that means I can harvest these lettuce seeds, and it's actually not very difficult at all. Basically, these will kind of turn brown and dry out, and then I can kind of just take this whole plant, I'll rip the whole plant out, and I'll kind of like massage and try to just get these seeds to come out of their pods. And it's much easier when these are fully mature and dry. So you know, it's kind of a waiting game, but you know, I can't eat this lettuce anyway. I'm not really using this space at this moment. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest those lettuce seeds, and then I can grow more lettuce later. So yeah, hopefully this was informative for you. Hopefully the video wasn't too bad, and appreciate it. Happy gardening.